Welcome, everyone. Today we're jumping right into one of the most universally intriguing, kind of spooky, and frankly completely misunderstood experiences of the human mind. We're going to build a really wholesome, complete understanding of déjà vu in this explainer. By the time we're done, you'll have a crystal clear, first principles grasp of exactly why this happens, and you'll be able to easily explain it to anyone. So, let's just dive right in.
So, have you ever had a moment that just felt weirdly familiar? Like your mind had already visited the exact scene unfolding right in front of you, even though you know for an absolute fact it hasn't? Maybe you're walking down a street in a city you've literally never visited, or you're listening to a friend tell a story you've definitely never heard, and suddenly, bam, that undeniable, eerie feeling just washes totally over you. Well, you're definitely not alone here. At first, it kind of feels like a tiny glitch in your personal matrix, but the truth is actually so much more fascinating than that.
Okay, let's ground this by defining what we're actually looking at. At its core, déjà vu is not the experience of remembering a past event. It's the experience of familiarity without a clear source. It's basically your brain saying, hey, this feels known, while the part of you that actually checks the facts says, but I don't actually know why. So the crucial thing to remember is that this is way less about a memory literally replaying, and more about your brain's recognition system just arriving a little bit out of sync. That brings us to Section 1. The eerie feeling. Why does this weird sensation matter so much? Well, because it gives us this rare, spectacular window into how our brains actually build reality. But before we get into the actual mechanism, we've got to clear the slate on what déjà vu is normally mistaken for. It's not a remembered dream, it is not a supernatural signal or a sign that the moment is literally repeating in time. And no, it's definitely not evidence that you're suddenly remembering a past life. I know, these explanations are super tempting because the feeling of déjà vu is incredibly vivid. But as we'll see today, vividness does not mean accuracy. A feeling can be intensely strong even when the explanation behind it is completely wrong. And this brilliantly illustrates why those myths pop up in the first place. You see, your brain is not a passive recording device. It isn't just taking in the world like a camera. It's actually a highly active prediction machine. Every single moment, it's trying to compress the world into something usable. It's constantly asking, what's going to happen next? Have I seen something like this before? It's predicting, comparing, and labeling. Déjà vu pops up when that incredibly efficient predicting system briefly misfires in a way that you can actually notice. Which brings us to a major turning point in our explainer. Section 2. Familiarity versus true memory. Spotting the difference here is absolutely key to solving the mystery.
What's really cool is how cleanly we can actually split these two concepts. A true memory is when you can connect an experience to a verifiable source. You can say, oh, I remember this restaurant, or this exact thing happened last year. You have solid proof. Familiarity, on the other hand, is way looser. It's just the sensation of, this seems known, or I can't really say why, but it rings a bell. They are absolutely not the same thing. Déjà vu is all about familiarity grabbing the steering wheel, while memory is just left totally empty-handed.
Let's use a quick analogy to really make this stick. Think about a song you half recognize playing on the radio. You hear the first few notes, and you feel completely 100% certain you know it, but until the chorus actually arrives, you can't tell whether it's actually the song you think it is. Déjà vu is exactly like that moment of partial recognition, except the brain never gets the full reveal. The feeling screams yes, while the actual evidence says, yeah, not so fast.
Another great way to picture this shortcut is thinking about a lock that opens just a little too easily. Look, most of the time mental shortcuts make life smooth, but if the shape of a key is only almost right, the lock might still turn for a fraction of a second before you realize, wait, that was the wrong key. Déjà vu is that near match. Your brain's fast pattern detector says close enough before the deeper, slower system has a chance to step in and correct it.
All right, now that we've separated the feeling from the facts, let's jump into Section 3, the timing mismatch. We're going to look under the hood at the specific machinery inside your brain.
So here is the absolute simplest, cleanest model of what's actually happening in your head. Your brain essentially has two jobs happening at the exact same time. Job 1 is the fast recognition system. It detects patterns super quickly and creates the feeling that a moment is familiar. Job 2 is the checking system. It's actively looking for a specific memory or real-world context to back that up. The mismatch between these two, like when the fast system fires strongly but the checking system comes up totally empty, produces the bizarre sensation of déjà vu. The feeling arrives first, the explanation comes late, or, honestly, sometimes never arrives at all.
I just love this concept. People so often assume that if the cause of a feeling is wrong, then the experience itself must be fake. But guys, if your brain generates a feeling of familiarity, the feeling itself is absolutely real. You aren't just imagining it. Think of it like hearing a smoke alarm go off because you burnt toast in the kitchen. The alarm isn't fake, it is genuinely blaring. It's just responding to the wrong level of threat. With déjà vu, the feeling is totally authentic. The interpretation is just a little off.
Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. Why does this happen in totally brand new places? Well, because your brain isn't just matching individual objects. It matches patterns of experience. Imagine walking into a newly renovated cafe. You've definitely never been there. But maybe the lighting, the way the tables are spaced out, the quiet hum of conversation, the whole arrangement has a shape that closely resembles familiar indoor spaces from your past. Your pattern detectors light up strongly, and you get that eerie feeling of recognition based purely on the sensory rhythm of the room.
And that brings us to the overall mood of déjà vu. It feels eerie, sharp, disorienting, and sometimes even a little thrilling, right? Why? Because that emotional charge comes from pure conflict. Your fast system is screaming yes, your slow system is firmly saying no, and your conscious awareness is just sitting right in the middle, trying to make sense of its own internal contradiction. Your mind notices when its internal signals disagree, very much like when you look at an optical illusion. You are literally experiencing the friction of your own processing systems at work.
Which brings us to our final and frankly, my absolute favorite part. Section 4. You are not broken. What does understanding this mismatch actually mean for you?
This is honestly the most wholesome takeaway from our explainer today. Déjà vu is not evidence that your mind is broken. It's not some creepy glitch in the matrix that you need to fear. It's actually evidence that your mind is doing something incredibly sophisticated, fast enough to occasionally slip up. Only a brain that is constantly comparing, compressing, and predicting at lightning speeds could even produce this kind of error in the first place. The strange feeling only exists because your mental system is normally so unbelievably efficient at keeping you safe and aware.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. You now know how to look right at the mechanism. You know that the feeling comes first, that the actual source might not exist, and that those internal checks are exactly what make it feel so uncanny. So the next time that eerie, familiar wave washes over you in a totally new place, are you just going to see a creepy glitch? Or will you pause, smile, and recognize the incredibly capable, fast-acting prediction engine humming underneath it all? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.